Okay, so on this channel, I talk a lot about freedom. And one of the things about freedom is when I look back in the world, I see a lot of freedoms that we don't actually have nowadays. And today I'm going to talk about one of those freedoms. And just a quick side tangent, I'm not saying social progress is necessarily bad or anything, but there are definitely some freedoms that we have lost. And let's get into the first one. Okay, did you know that cities were actually walkable? The best example I'd use for this is Red Dead Redemption 2. Now, I know this is a video game, but this is actually how American cities were built back in the day. You would have walkable towns connected by trains. And in the early 1900s, when the automobile industry first started, there was actually a lot of lobbying done in the education system to tell kids that walking on the streets is basically a bad thing. Terms like jaywalking were introduced to scare and shame children into not walking wherever they pleased, so that more room could be made for cars. Think about the fact that when you go outside today, you cannot walk on 99% of the land. Cities used to belong to people, and now they belong to cars. Terms like jaywalking are literally the N-word if you think about it. And jaywalking exists in legislation in every single country in the whole world. Think about how fucked up that is. This is a literal middle finger to human rights and democracy. Because when cars were first introduced into the public, everybody hated them. They killed a lot of people, they made a lot of noise, they made a lot of pollution, and they prevented people from being able to walk where they wanted to walk. And now they control 90% of land in the whole world. Proponents of cars and car-centric infrastructure will say things like public transport is fascistic because public transport has schedules. And okay, first of all, cars have regulations as well. They have traffic laws. And tell me what is more tyrannical, having to pay thousands of dollars to be able to traverse your city, or having to wait 2 minutes for a train, or having to park your bike somewhere. In a car, you're literally trapped in a metal box. In a train, you can walk. You have the freedom to actually move in a train. You have the freedom to get off and get on. And another thing is, cars need to be maintained, okay? Your car needs petrol. Cars are also becoming increasingly harder to repair. So you don't even own your car anymore. You see, a bike can actually be maintained for life with a few tools. And then that bike can be passed on to the next generation. You cannot say the same for your car. And again, you have petrol. People who are paid by oil giants and oil corporations like PragerU and all that will say things like, I don't want to have to rely on the government for my transportation, and that is why I want to have a car. But the thing is, when you have a car, you're still relying on your government for transportation, because roads cost a lot of money to maintain. They cost a lot more than trains, I'll tell you that much, and a lot more than walkable cities. And you have things like traffic regulations, traffic lights, licenses, and all that, and insurance. And secondly, you're also dependent on an oil corporation to provide gas. So now the government is taking your tax dollars and using it to build unsustainable roads, which always have potholes in them because that's just how roads work, and they're giving subsidies to the oil corporations that destroy the future, okay? And here's something people don't understand. You might own your car, but you do not own the road you use your car on. Okay, so sure, you might technically own your car on some level, but roads are public infrastructure, bitch. And when it comes to public infrastructure, efficiency should be prioritized. Because believe it or not, a lot of your tax dollars go into maintaining roads and subsidizing oil corporations. And a lot of those tax dollars could be better used to just maintain a train line that can move 25,000 people a day. Or build a walkable city where people can actually cycle instead of having to use a car for a 3-kilometer trip, which covers more than about 50% of trips. In the US, all 50% of trips are less than 5 kilometers. And again, when you build walkable cities, everything is just naturally closer together. So humans' footprint on the environment on a society level is a lot less anyway. And again, trains, walkable cities, bikes, trams are all far more efficient than cars and cheaper. Again, if I'm on a train or in a walkable city, I'm using my feet to traverse that area. I own my feet, bitch, more than you own your car. And my feet doesn't need petrol or any of that crap. I can cut my toenails with a Foss nail cutter, while you have to buy proprietary parts to change your fucking tires, or go to like a licensed dealer to like fucking change your oil or whatever. Walking has basically become illegal. A fundamental human action is now illegal so oil and gas corporations can make more money. Cities, okay, are designed for the car and for the profit of oil corporations. And what I'm saying is instead of having cities designed for those corporate assholes, we should have cities designed for the people. That's it. And again, this is really a freedom we have lost. along with right to repair. But Louis Rossman speaks about that already. And don't get me wrong when I say social progress is necessary, but social progress should happen to increase the freedoms of people, not the corporations. When I look at history, a lot of social progress has happened, right? Women getting the right to vote, the civil rights movement and whatnot. I totally support all of those movements. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying we should go back to the 1800s. Because if we went back to the 1800s, people like me would not be allowed to make videos like this, straight up. But the thing is, when I look at a lot of the social progress that has happened, especially after the 1900s, a lot of that social progress seems to be controlled by corporations, and it seems to exist for the interest of the corporations, if you know what I mean. When people wear a fucking LGBTQ Apple Watch, that is not social progress. That is just corporations ripping you off and making a profit. Because I'm going to tell you right now, Tim Cook may be gay in the US, but when Tim Cook steps in China, that motherfucker is straight as hell. Okay? He's straighter than the C's in the CCP. Okay? And corporations, when corporations pander to political movements, this is not social progress. This is just corporations trying to make more money. So when I say social progress, I do not mean things like a gay Apple Watch. That's not what I'm talking about. By social progress, I mean human rights. I mean being able to own things. I mean being able to walk when I go outside my fucking house or whatever the fuck. And that's basically what I'm talking about. I'm saying a lot of our current world is built for corporations and for profit. And it is actually possible to build cities that have human mobility and human freedom in mind. It is possible to make policies that protect human rights, the right to own things and things like that. And I'll make more videos talking about lost freedoms. It's going to be a new mini series, if you will. And thank you for watching. Thank you for your time. And go dab on the cars. But do not get run over by the cars, because that's pretty dangerous.